and that ended abruptly. Welcome, Stoned Fruit Roll-Up. I am your host, Rebecca Gunter. This is the Stoned Fruit Roll-Up. This show you're watching about building the show that you're watching right now. This is our play space, our sandbox, if you will, to really build community and cut up and have a very good time talking about all things marketing, branding, entrepreneurial adventures, etc. We're here every Thursday on LinkedIn and also on YouTube at the Stoned Fruit channel, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's high noon, 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and 5 o'clock for our friends in merry old England. Today, I am so excited because we get to do a Best in Brand show, which is some of my absolute favorite content because there's pretty much no topic I'd like to talk about more than branding. When it works, how to do it, kind of fun adventures in Brandyland, as it were. And I'm so excited to introduce you to the brand for Unleashed Financial Advocates. This is a personal project for me, or let's just say I have a personal stake in it because the CEO, founder, HBIC, the brainchild behind Unleashed Financial Advocates is my very best bestie for over a decade, Michelle Brown. Michelle and I have kind of come up together, cutting our freelance teeth at the same time. We've been engaged in projects and our family's lives for almost as long as I can remember. So it's been a real honor to present this exciting new project for her and to hear her entrepreneurial energy come to life as she shows us what she's been working on. Michelle is a financial steward and advocate. She helps small businesses in all across this great land, as we say. She's had some international clients as well, so across the globe, really get their financial health and wellness together by going beyond kind of the ledgers and the P&Ls and the reports of it all and looking at the big picture of how small businesses can operate and thrive and innovate. And she is a big part of that story for a lot of her clients. And I cannot wait to hear how we're bringing it to life in this beautiful brand. So without further ado, please don't let me keep Michelle backstage too long. Let's bring her out and meet my girl. Womp, 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 womp. Hey, Michelle. Hey, girl.
Hey, Rebecca. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, it would not be the same without you. I'm so thrilled to have you on this show. And already Tony's coming in from the comments saying he can't wait to meet and see and hear from Michelle. So we've got your fans are rolling in, baby, as we do with the roll up.
Thanks, Tony.
It's so nice. I am thrilled beyond compare to talk about this new brand, and I'm so excited to showcase it for the Stoned Fruit Roll-Up audience. It's a personal project, as I said in the beginning, because you and I have worked on this kind of hand in hand. So I'm going to show your logo. We're definitely going to do that. Okay, awesome. And bring that to the stage. What happened? There we go. Unleashed Financial Advocates. Look at this adorable dog, you guys. Look at this adorable dog. Tell us, Michelle, about what does it feel like when you see this logo and this brand type come to life?
Well, Zelda, the mascot there, the dog, she is, uh, with the help of a wonderful graphics designer, Calvin Nelson, is my dream girl. And just kind of that, sophisticated scarf in the wind, tooling down the highway, success story is what she brings to mind for me. And it's taken us a while to get there, but I couldn't be prouder of this look, the name, all of it just makes me so happy when I see it. It makes me smile. And bookkeeping is kind of financial sometimes times people think are boring. So it's so much fun to have just something that really puts a grin on people's face when they see it, and that makes me happy as well.
Oh my God, finally freedom from kind of the old tropes of what the I guess I've been writing some copy for you lately that's like bookkeepers aren't just the old lady who lives in a shoe. Like this
Yeah,
is
we're not your daddy's bookkeeper anymore. Like the days of the big paper ledgers and the sitting hunched over a desk with Scrooge and Marley in their dirty old dungeon is definitely not the way things are done these days, and definitely not my brand. That's for
and,
sure.
and thank God. So let's before we kind of get into the who's, the whys, and the special sauces of this brand particularly, I want to make sure that everybody who is watching today or in the replay understands what is Unleashed Financial Advocates. What kind of business is this, and how do you support your clients?
Well, from a traditional point of view, we are a bookkeeping specialist firm. We do bookkeeping, but um, what Unleash Financial Advocates does is takes it beyond the books. We make sure that your finances are healthy, from bookkeeping to uh, advocacy on your credit card bills and your relationships with your bankers, and who maybe you're paying insurance to, and all those kind of things. So what what started out as just kind of doing the books on a regular basis has turned into a full, robust, financial advocacy for my clients. And so I really love the name that we came up with, this Unleashed Financial Advocates. It means so much to me. Like, we're in there, we're not tethered to just your bookkeeping. We advocate for you in anything that has to do with your finances.
How does being unleashed, or this concept, take people beyond the books for you, or beyond bookkeeping? What does it mean to be an advocate?
Well, so often people want to kind of silo their finances and their operations, and the two shall never meet, kind of thing. And really, by having an unleashed advocate, allows that person who's doing the books to oversee the entire health of the company. And operations and finances go hand in hand. If you don't see that, we need to help open your eyes that you can't have healthy operations if your finances aren't tight, and you can't have tight finances if your operations or your procedures or how the flow of business happens. And so uh, that's the goal of Unleashed Financial Advocates, is to make that kind of that infinity of books and finances, operations and finances, all being one thing.
Why would anybody make it all one thing? Like, what's the advantage of having this perspective versus just like coming in, getting your bank reconciliation statements, your credit card statements, going back to being the old lady in the shoe? Like, why is this approach so successful for you in how you help your clients?
Well, I think we live in a new world where so much is virtual. We do our banking online. Our credit card statements come to us electronically. We don't have paper in front of us all the time. And if your operations isn't paying attention to what's happening in your financial world and vice versa, things can you know, go off key. They can you can be cyber hacked. You can be uh, audited. All of these things, and if you don't have procedures and operations in place with your financial health, it's easy for something to get sick. And it really is about, your financial health and your operation health is your overall, uh, it's like your body. If one part of your body isn't working, it really affects your whole body. It's the business is a whole entity, and all of those things have to work together well. And I think classically for years, it's kind of been everything stayed siloed, and the bookkeepers just really plugged in numbers and was told what to do. But small businesses are so overwhelmed that they need someone else's eyes on things. So every month I get your bank statement, every month I get your credit card statement. I can see where, why are we paying for a printer we don't have anymore? I can see things that the business owner doesn't always have the time to take care of. And so that's what I'm there for.
And also being snowblind. I'm thinking about stale costs, and I'm only thinking about that because we just wrote a blog post about it. So I'm really thinking about it right now.
It's very important, and it's amazing how much money gets lost through stale costs. Personally, I mean, it just happened. Like, I looked at my own personal bank statement yesterday and was like, why am I paying for that subscription that I have not used in months? Yeah, those are important things to look at business wise as well.
Before we use that as an example, tell us what stale costs are. What does that even mean?
Stale costs are usually company costs that really are no longer viable. They become stale. You don't use them anymore. It's leftover slice of bread on the counter that just sits there. it's become stale. You have contracts with copy machine companies. You have contracts with fax machine companies. I don't know who uses fax machines anymore, but there's tons of different contracts companies have, and often they just keep paying these fees without investigating why and what's changed. And I can give a really good example. If now's a good time
Now's a great time. We'd love to hear your story. Give us a cautionary tale about stale
costs. They're the worst, man. Slightly moldy, So a client of mine had a copy machine that they had bought or they had leased 10 years ago. And it still worked, but it didn't have all the bells and whistles that it should have these days, and it was gigantic. Copy machines, printers are much smaller now, more efficient, have Wi-Fi, whatever. When they, 10 years ago, when they leased this machine, they were paying $280 a month for the leasing agreement or something in that number. And when they had a contract for 5 years. Well, when the 5 years rolled around, nobody was paying attention. So the leasing company just said, well, I guess they don't care. So we'll just up them for another 5 years at $285 a month.
Which they're counting on, I think.
Yeah, they don't. Most often, I'm sorry to interrupt, but most often leasing agents don't send you a letter saying, hey, by the way, your lease is up. Would you care to review it? No, nobody says that. So having someone who's kind of paying attention to that, and then because what happens is, so a stale cost is that printer is no longer worth $258 a month. It's at this point, it's probably a piece of crap and needs to go to the dump.
You could buy a brand new one for $258 every month.
Exactly. I mean, that's so the stale cost is the money on the table because nobody's taking the time to kind of review what we're doing. And a big one now is like phone systems. I have another client who pays thousands of dollars a month for a phone system, but since the pandemic, they have 5 people in the office. They don't need to pay $2,000 a month for a phone. So looking at that and saying, how many people do we have in the office, and why are we paying for 20 seats on our phone? We should only be paying for 5 or 8 or whatever. And reaching out to the phone company and saying, the phone system company, why are we? And you know what? This is not a criticism of the small business owner. Holy crap, they got a billion other things to do.
It's so easy to be snowblind. Oh, yeah. Let's remember that every 3 months we need to pull out all of our service contracts, from a God knows where and make sure they're still relevant. That's uh, that's quite an ask when you're putting out fires all day. So I think that that's a beautiful way to talk about why financial advocacy is so important and why this kind of method out the old school way of like just enter your numbers and make it all balance at the end of the day is short-sighted
Right.
because when you only have that like tunnel vision perspective of like reconciliation and expense categorization and you don't have access to like see the entire ecosystem of the small business that you're working with, it's very difficult for anyone to see the blind spots. And so that's why I think what you're doing is really special.
Well, thank you. And I know you're leading this, but this is a good time to segue into, why the new brand, because I was doing all this stuff before under my own name and brand, and I was realizing that people didn't know it. Sure, my client maybe knew a little bit, but nobody else, new clients didn't know it. And so that was the perfect time to call my friend Rebecca, brilliant writer and uh, wordsmith that she is, and make that step forward to reimagine Michelle Brown into Unleash Financial Advocates.
If you don't mind, and if it's not too, I don't know, I guess it's not too personal, because I think it would really help anyone at home who's watching right now, who's kind of at this moment where they're maybe between kind of the industry standard or the old way of working and really wanting to step into like the full realization of what they bring to the table for their clients. What was painful for you that you were willing to take action, what was happening in your current business that you were like, I need to rebrand and kind of start something?
I lost the last part of that. You kind of
Yeah, I'm really asking you, like, what was the pain point that made you do something in terms of doing a rebrand?
the pain point that made me do it.
Yeah, what was happening in your current business that you were like, man, stop the presses. It's time for me to, do a refresh, kind of launch myself in a new way. What was happening to you in the way in your old, kind of like air quotes, your old brand?
Uh, I think um, my apologies. All kinds of weird stuff is happening on my computer.
Hey, man,
Um,
that's the beauty of a live show. It's
uh,
real.
I think it was when I realized that I was kind of pigeonholing myself into the same kind of client over and over. Maybe the client that didn't get the bigger picture, or maybe not by choice they didn't get the bigger picture, but most of my clients are referrals, word of mouth, and it was always like, hey, we need a bookkeeper, and then they kind of wanted me to plug me into this bookkeeping spot. And I was like, well, nobody's going to know any different unless I tell them that there is so much more. You're a good. I'm still a bookkeeper. I'm just an exceptional one. I'm one that takes it beyond the norm. And so I just realized that I wasn't going to have the type of clients and business I wanted to have until I got the word out that this is what we do.
And and get the word out you did. I've known you for a really long time. As I said at the top of this show, we met when my kid was 3 years old, who's now turning 16. So we've worked together in a lot of capacities, and for so long, I felt that you've been in this beautiful growth mode, and the amount of value that you bring to your clients just kind of like increases exponentially as you make partnerships and connections and grow your acumen. And this brand right here is like almost watching like the whole flower open up of your of what makes you so uniquely special, that you are that you are like essentially the dog in the fight for your clients, to make sure they're not paying kind of maybe not secret tax bills from DC government, but not so public ones, or that they're not leasing, $300 printers that are outdated, and that your people really are taken care of, and there's someone's out there watching the bottom line. So I think that you've done a beautiful job here, really stepping into that power. And I just want to acknowledge that.
Well, thank you. And I think, folks should know, like, I'm a small business too. I got into this full time. We started out, my journey was Michelle's Office Solutions, MOS, and then we went to just Michelle Brown Consulting. And then it was like, if I'm going to grow and maybe add staff to my team, I need something that's less about me and more about what I'm doing. And my brand was really all about me. It had my name in it. It had, because I came into it so accidentally in a way. I picked up one client, and then I picked up another client. Suddenly I had, a nice bouquet of clients, speaking of flowering. And I realized, and with the help of you, but also just that, like, this is not enough for me to grow. I need to be more aware of what my clients need and less about what Michelle Brown Consulting is about. And I think we captured it in this website and in the brand with the Unleash Financial Advocates. Hopefully people understand that this is what they can use, and it's important. And I don't think I had that before. And I was kind of running in place. You heard me, whine my stories, little record player that my heart bleeds for you all the time about why can't I get clients who I want, and I have a great bunch of clients now, don't get me wrong. But it took a while to get to that place where I was thinking about what are the services that small businesses need and kind of get out of my own way. And that's where this led us to, I feel like.
And also, I think the messaging of, this really big picture or 360-degree thinking about your financial health and wellness versus just like squeaky clean books. If now my hope is, that the brand is sticking and works, which I think it is, they'll start thinking about how to conduct the relationship with you in a different way, as well as you conducting the relationship with them in a different way. So now, instead of thinking like, oh, well, my old bookkeeper didn't need to have a 2-hour strategy meeting every quarter. And I'm not saying you do that, but, just along that, like, my old bookkeeper didn't do all this stuff. Now, because the language is really so honed and the messaging is so purposeful and with intention, it's easy to start helping your clients see you in this kind of holistic light, and then open up opportunities for your partnership to work with a lot more ease and flow and a lot less kind of friction. So, if they're thinking, oh man, I really need to make sure that Michelle has access to all of our service contracts. Otherwise, how are we going to be looking for stale costs versus I better make sure the bank statements are in the folder? There's just a different mindset to the partnership that's opened this up. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being brave to step out. Not everybody has the bravery to step out with like a very kind of bold, personality driven brand. So,
well, but I also think it is, it's what I needed to get out of my own way. Like the language, the conversations with you when we were putting all this together where it was, wow, I didn't realize I do all that. I need to get out of my own way. I need the language to which explain it to other people. And so this was a process which it helped me grow, and the branding process gave me way more confidence than I had before I went into it. And it also has given me kind of some of the language skill to use when I talk to clients or future clients about what it is we do at Unleashed, and why we need to do it. Um, I that's really important. And so that what's the word? The process of doing this gave me a whole other piece of confidence that I didn't have before. And had I not gone through that, I don't think I would have felt like I do now.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I think it does do that. I think when someone from the outside who truly cares about you holds up a mirror to what you do through the process of through discovery, through writing a positioning statement, identifying the messaging, to all of that kind of like pre-work, something happens to the founder or the entrepreneur as well. It's not just about the words on a paper. Something happens where you can really see yourself in this fully realized way and live it. Because it's one thing to have it on a Google Doc, here's your positioning statement, and it's a whole nother thing to have it show up in everything, from the way the logo is crafted to the way you talk to your clients, to the website, how that's done, to your LinkedIn profile, to all the things.
Yeah.
So thanks, girl.
Well, you're welcome. And just one of my observations on branding is I have worked with my clients as some of them have gone through a branding process, and I always kind of felt like, oh, it didn't. I think when you rebrand, it needs to change you down to your soul. Like, it needs to be profoundly a part of who you are. And if you're not getting that experience when you rebrand, then I don't think you're doing it right. So,
I mean, you said it.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. It does need to change your soul. What a beautiful way to express that. Beautiful. Well, let's look at this brand. Let's remind folks at home that they're watching the Stoned Fruit Roll-Up every Thursday at 12 noon on LinkedIn and also on YouTube. And we've had some fun comments and clients. Tony wants to know, what's a good financial practice we could start today or soon? It's a nice question, Tony.
It is a good question. And my number one is fall in love with receipt management.
Receipts. Protect your peace. Future you will thank you.
Yes, exactly. I mean, honestly, Rebecca hears me complain about it all the time, but like getting receipts to be able to protect your assets, and everything you're doing. Everybody's kind of cavalier with the receipts and that they get. You take a client to lunch, or you buy office products from Staples. Those receipts don't go in the trash. They need to be managed. And
why? Tell us why.
Well, because the IRS don't play, for one. The IRS expects you to have paper receipts to support your bank statements and credit card statements.
For how long, Michelle?
11 years.
11 years.
So, let's just say, horrors of horrors, you are audited. If you have a receipt management system, by month, with your bank statement, your credit card statement, and all the receipts from that month in there, written on who you took to lunch, what it was about, your audit's like a breeze. Because really what an audit is they're just looking to see where you screwed up and how they can, sorry, IRS gods, but that's really what it's all about. And so Sure, there are other things that you should be doing that are important, but I would say of every client I've ever worked with for the last 15 years, has receipt management has been kind of the bane of their existence. But 5 minutes now versus hours later, I don't know. To me, it's a no-brainer.
And I think it's about just forming a habit, really,
Mhm.
of and also acknowledging that 5 minutes now is 5 hours later, if you're lucky. What was that for? Why did I go there? Why did I pick up that Uber? Like, that's just not how I want to be spending my entrepreneurial energy. So,
And it,
and
I realize that we get paper receipts when we go to the store or to a restaurant, but a lot of places now email receipts to you. It's the same thing, just for whatever your system is in place in the email. Right? Hey, this was for. I met with Rebecca Gunter on branding,
yes,
and and, and that's it's a marketing expense. It's a legitimate marketing expense. So you put that in the right folder, or you send it to someone who's creating those folders. But just letting them die on the vine in your email box, or scrunched up in this console of your car, is not where they should live.
what that I feel seen. I feel seen, but also like the one thing I've learned about you over time that breaks your heart more than anything else is just lost opportunities or money left on the table.
Money
If you
left on the table.
if you are not coding these receipts and they are not getting categorized appropriately, there's a different this is your wheelhouse, girl. So please don't let me step all over the financial advocates and genius. But like, there's a difference in
Carry
what you
on,
can.
grasshopper.
There's a difference in like a marketing or a team meeting versus feeding yourself while you're like delivering a keynote in a hotel versus taking a client out versus wooing a prospect. All of those have different tax implications in
They
terms of
do.
your deductions. So
Yeah.
if you don't categorize them and then they get miscategorized, you've left money on the table. If they're a receipt that you could be reimbursed for, you've left money on the table. If it's a client that is responsible for that expense, but they get billed at the end of the month, you've left money on the table because now you don't have the receipt. They're not going to reimburse you.
Yeah,
So all those things suck, but it is about habits and
it is.
got to get into it if you're
So
advocating for yourself and for your own financial
yeah,
future.
and again, answering Tony's question, best practices or what we should be doing. Uh, we need to be setting up a system so that the habit forming can start. And 2024 is a new year, folks. Do it for your own personal expenses. Do it for your office expenses. And if you don't have time, there's someone out there that can help you set it up and make it work.
What an excellent segue. I think it's you. You are that.
Oh, I try.
Kathleen wants to know how often you should review and look for stale costs.
Well, I think uh, that's a good question because it's not exactly clear. Um, if you have multiple contracts with your postage machine and your printer, and you also have a bunch of the other thing is subscriptions. I mean, who hasn't in their personal life, like I shared very early in this conversation, come across something they paid for that they're like, wow, I haven't used them in months and months. So some of it's done monthly. When that credit card statement comes in and that bank statements, that leads to the second part of this, which is this is why it's so important that you get your bank accounts and credit card reconciled every month. Because if you're just kind of throwing that in the basket on your desk, and nobody's reconciling your banking, fraud happens, stale costs and subscriptions happen, So on the one hand, it's kind of monthly when you're doing your reconciling, but on a bigger note, for like contracts, ideally is you should have all your contracts together, and there should be a calendar that says when each contract ends. And so again, those are usually reviewed monthly as well. And you should know a few months in advance that, oh, hey, the printer contract is coming to an end. What are our options? So that was a very murky answer to a very good question. Sorry, but
Well,
it just depends on what you're doing. But
I think you had a great answer. One, just make it regular, bake it in, no matter what it is, whether it's quarterly or monthly, whatever. Just regular it. Two, keep them all in one place. Three, put a point person in charge of it. Make sure that there is somebody whose job is to look at those contracts. Ideally, that's unleashed financial advocates. Okay. And then the fourth thing was really around just being aware of what a stale cost is and how that can drag you down.
yeah,
Good
and
question.
so and as far as sale costs go, there's little ones, there's medium sized ones, and there's big ones. If you're I mean, something as crazy as your rent. You're paying $18,000 a month for rent for your office, but now you only have 5 employees. What's that lease date end, and can you renegotiate now with your landlord, or do you need to put it on your calendar to look for new space that meets your need? I mean, it's still cost is a big thing, and there's a lot of different kinds of options, but opportunities to get rid of some of those.
I think the concept of stale costs is really just such a beautiful analogy for why if you've got a bookkeeper in your life, that really needs to be a position of less reporting and more advocacy. That this is the kind of thing that you do that some other bookkeepers do not do. Some maybe do, but this is what makes you super special, is that you've got this really holistic kind of 30,000 foot perspective on all the things going, and your job or your goal is to get those in alignment so that they're effective, that they're efficient. So one email goes out asking for I don't know, like expense reports for the whatever, I'm making that up, versus having to go 5 emails deep to get some sort of piece of some sort of paperwork. So
Right.
changing your relationship with your bookkeeper, I think, is the hill we're dying on for sure.
And I think the commonality amongst all of these issues, stale cost, receipt management, bank reconciliation, working with operations, all of them have the same thing, which is habit forming process. You just need a process, and the whole team needs to understand the process. Now, whether you have an in house bookkeeper or you hire outsource to me or someone else, you should be aware that you need to have these processes in place. And circling back to the branding that we did, these are things that I really wanted to point out in my new website, my new brand, is that we do those things because they're so important.
They are so important. Thanks for bringing it back to the brand. Let's talk about how someone brings that to life. I think why would somebody rebrand? Why did you rebrand? What did that mean for you? How are you bringing your brand to life? We've really kind of understood the joie de vivre of Unleashed Financial Advocates. What was the journey like for you to go start from, like, okay, here's how I've always done it, to what we're seeing before us?
Well,
It
as you
wasn't. It
well
wasn't easy. It
know,
wasn't
it
easy.
was a long and winding road. Um,
Yeah, I don't want people to think it's like, oh, you just fucking rebrand. You just suddenly you have an adorable dog, or suddenly you have
yeah,
a pitch
no,
perfect
I
website, or
mean, I really kind of feel, not to scare people off rebranding, But like this has been a couple year process for us. I mean, and again, I know I'm singing your praises, but rightfully so. And part of that is because you kind of kept with me along the way and helped me understand the importance of it. But you also didn't push so hard that like you weren't like, oh, you have to do this now. It came around, I think, somewhat organically. Um, but it was like I think the first thing that I've said to Rebecca in this whole beginning of this process was like, I'm sick of people just thinking I'm a bookkeeper. I don't, nothing wrong with bookkeepers. Bookkeepers are the spice of life. Um, uh, but I am a financial and operational liaison. So many things that, and a lot of bookkeepers are. I mean, I think bookkeepers do more than most companies even realize they're doing. Um, Corporate bookkeepers tend to be a little, there are other people to handle some of that liaison advocacy work and stuff, but um, so that was kind of the start of the process, is just having frustration about, I get a call, hey, so and so referred you, we need a bookkeeper. And then, the beginning of this was, how do I get people to start thinking about the bigger picture of bookkeeping specialists and bookkeeping management? And then the next was like, okay, we don't want it to be Michelle Brown Consulting anymore because it really needs to be bigger than that. Well, then, we went around and around and around trying to find the right name for it. And I knew in my head, like, I wanted it to be kind of this bigger, bolder statement. Like, if you unleash us to be your financial advocate, we will do great things for you. And so, I came up with the unleashed, and then I worked, we're like, well, the other thing is you also want to find a name that has a .com. So
yeah.
that's
And if you do find one, sometimes that's the deal. That's the decider right
yeah.
there. You're between two things.
But I think the word advocate or advocates was what I'm kind of the most proud of. I mean, it's out there everywhere. I see financial advocates or whatever, but the blend of unleashed and advocates to me really spoke to me, and we were able to go forward with it. But we're talking a good. I mean, from the moment we hired the web developer, it's been 6 months just to do that. I mean, it's not. You're right. It's not something that happens overnight. And let's not forget, we're all trying to work and pay our bills at the same time. So it's
Yeah, exactly.
it's like trying to build your house and live in it at the same time. It doesn't work very well sometimes. So it's a process, but it like I said earlier, to me, if you don't feel like it speaks to your soul, you're not there yet. And I mean, also working with the artists on this, like we had to go through several renditions, and I know he was pulling out every one of his last hairs on his head probably,
And
but
it's
I
not.
just knew what I wanted, and
It just wasn't even him either. Like, I think it's important to tell that journey. We started with
oh yeah,
a service provider, and that was kind of not didn't
yeah,
really
a
land.
logo service provider wasn't, yeah.
And then we moved to Fiverr because, like, I'd seen some other clients have some success with it. We had a really tight scope. We weren't all over the map, and that didn't work out well for us either. Everything looked the same. Everything had, either the graphs or a pie chart or money, and we really wanted to kind of get away from that. So that the logo process was frustrating. And then we got to Calvin, who we've been working with for years on so many projects, which we should have started with in the first place, I guess. But it still took him many, many rounds to get to Zelda. other people might have given up, Michelle, honestly, at some point and be
Yeah.
like, it's just fine. What what gave you kind of the chutzpah or the moxie to just keep iterating?
Honestly, and this is gonna, I'm paying for this fucking thing. I want it to look the way I want it to look. That was really like in the back of my mind was like, I don't want to spend another $1,000, $1,500, $2,500 if it doesn't make my soul feel good. And I realized, what I got the pushback on with the logo was, well, Zelda by herself doesn't scream financial accounting, bookkeeper, whatever. But that's not what I was going for. And to some people it may still not make any sense, but one thing everybody should know is I love dogs pretty much more than people. And I have a dog who I love, who actually has there she is.
Oh
Hi, you
yeah.
the Bell.
Lulu.
Um uh who has a nose that looks just like Zelda's. I noticed the other day it's like got the exact same little funky thing. Um and it was just really important to me that it spoke to my personality. I am very serious about your books, but I also it we can have fun while we're doing some of this. So I think Zelda gives that. Anyway, Calvin sent this back to me and it was perfect except for the glasses. That was you, girl. She said you're like she needs some cat eye sunglasses, and thus Zelda P. Money's-worth was born.
And boy, are we having fun with her.
Yeah.
The wordplay writes itself, and also the whimsical nature of, look at these little glasses. Let's get these little glasses up here. I mean, it just from a branding perspective, it's just really delightful to work with because there's so much personality within her polka dots, her scarf,
My
her
glasses.
glasses, kind of the homage to Lulu, which has really kind of been our inspiration this entire time of what are the qualities that a dog really brings um, to the table, really. And it's around tenacity and loyalty and faithfulness and
Yeah.
hardworking. And once we kind of decided on the dog theme, then the rest of it really just started to write itself.
I
um,
love this one you have up with the little tiny chihuahua with all his gold, his bling. The dog can't even walk probably because he's got so much bling on, but it's hysterical. I love
and
that.
he's sitting on a pile of cash.
I know, like, yeah, making it rain up in here. Yeah, it's too funny.
I
But
want to ask.
so that whimsical with the serious of the words, it just to me again just brings me such joy that I feel like I can go out there and uh, sell my services. I don't even want to use the word sell. That sounds so crass, but I can promote my services knowing full well that this is this has been really well thought out to be able to use this as a tool to share with future clients.
I think another reason this brand is so sticky is because, yeah, like when we're looking at it on the website, and this is a place where you're supposed to kind of have fun with copy. Like, it's this is like a website's kind of like a dating site to me. Like it's supposed to enchant you and be adorable and approachable and also functional. Get in, get what you need, get on with the rest of your life. But that doesn't mean that we're stuck in this kind of kitty brand that can never grow older than that. When we're in LinkedIn, I mean, the language is around financial systems design and implementation, financial management optimization, bottom line performance improvement. It can grow and stretch from whatever the medium is supposed to be and what's appropriate for that. So, while you say speak to your soul with your brand, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I don't want folks at home to think, well, that means I can never also, be taken seriously, because that's not the case. Here we are on LinkedIn. It's about how you apply it, I think, towards whatever, medium that you're in. Good job, Michelle. Hey, before we like kind of wrap up this call or this to wrap up the Stone Fruit Roll-Up today featuring Unleashed Financial Advocates and my girl Michelle Brown, I'm going to kind of go back and tell a little story. And that is that when we were working together with a client, that client was really heavily in the manifesting state. And she like to have like team workshops where you realized your dreams within a context of a meeting. And one year for Christmas she gave us all these like Marie Folio like planners that were like these big like spiral bound book with this hard cover. And 3 people on the team were all like, just like, wow, this is amazing. And you came to the table, you said, is this planner supposed to do anything or does it just make my purse heavy? You were so right on. And to me that like exemplifies, does this planner do anything or does it just make you probably did make her cry because she was like, oh my God, I spent like $80 on each of these planners. But to the point of like, what is the function? What's the job? Does this just make my purse heavier or is there a functionality here? Knowing that that's how you kind of like look at life and like, I have fun. I love to take on new adventures. I want things to speak to my soul, but also what's the job?
And it better work.
Just the fact. So when I drug you through the process of coming up with a positioning statement, in retrospect, and you didn't fight me on it, even though we've done positioning on a few different iterations before. You didn't fight me on it. You went with it. You embraced it. You didn't give me pushback. But I know how practical you are. In retrospect, was that exercise just making your purse heavier?
No, not at all. In fact, you call it practical. Others might call it difficult. I do tend to be, I am one of these persons that will be like, you're up there, Tony Robbins, shut the hell up. Just get off the stage. It's just homework. You telling me how great I could be or whatever. I need real fact, real check right now. And so the process sometimes is painful for me, because I want to see results immediately, and that's not always easy. But I will say, though, that once I kind of, let go and let dog take over, I realized that all of the questions, all of the processes, again, helped me get out of my own way and really verbalize what I was doing without being apologetic for it. Like, I think, throughout time, I'm always like, oh, well, I don't really do that much, or I'm not that good, I'm not, whatever. The process of doing the positioning statement, I wanted to like rip off my shirt with the S on my chest when I was done with it, because I was like, damn, I do a lot of stuff, man, and I'm so glad that I went through it.
I love hearing that feedback. I'm going to try and bring it up while we're kind of wrapping up. Let me see if I can get it up so people can take a look at it, because I think it just exemplifies what we've been able to make manifest in.
All right, I'm driving to your house right now.
I wish you would, man.
I wish I could, man.
I wish you would. Okay. I'm going to took me a minute there to get this up here. Bear with me. Stream your YouTube audience.
I would say, I hope this doesn't come across as negative, but going through a positioning statement is like going through therapy. It's not always comfortable, but if you do it right, you come out the end a better, healthier person. And so, I felt like sometimes there was some parts where it was like, oh, that's uncomfortable, but it was brilliant in the end. So,
Thank you for that observation. We call it entrepreneur. It does feel therapeutic. And I don't take it lightly either because I've gone through it myself. And it is a journey. You crawl through the glass. It is, you go through every emotion from shame to pride to excitement to disappointment. You go through everything, really basically coming up with a container for the brand. Who's it for? What do they need? Who are we? What do we deliver? And why are we special, different, or the one? It really can feel like quite an emotional roller coaster to go through that. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, from a branding perspective, that is the only way we can create something that is so unique and feels like your Unleashed Financial Advocates is going to be instantly recognizable by anybody who's kind of taking any interest in the brand. And I think we have the visuals, I think we have the words, I think we have the messaging to attract them, and what will keep them there will reinforce your messaging over and over and over again, and you can only get there through positioning. So let's hear it, shall we, in the remaining minutes of our show.
Okay.
For firms, agencies, and proactive practices, those are your clients, who dare not be ineffective or irrelevant. This is the kind of client you're seeking. People who are like, I dare the universe to make me ineffective. I will not be that. Versus kind of like stuck in how we've always done it. Unleashed Financial Advocates is the financial steward, system strategist, and small business bookkeeping specialist, delivering impeccable back-end bookkeeping and an infrastructure that supports innovation, adaptability, and growth, and sets you free from the insanity of congested workflows, antiquated systems, and operating in silos, because future-proofing an empowered business is a tough job, but you don't have to do it alone. I think we got there with this brand.
I do. I feel very confident we did. And like I said, there were some painful moments. There was some doubt, not of the process as much as of myself. That the actual process kind of, I mean, it didn't kind of, it did. It made me feel like this brand is speaking my true self and what I do. Maybe some of the words are prettier than I would normally use because, well, I'm not a wordsmith, but it's the process has to happen.
I agree.
And I would tell anyone out there who's thinking of rebranding, if you're working with someone who isn't taking you through the process, fire them immediately and find Stoned Fruit Roll.Up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Michelle,
You're welcome.
Tell folks where they can find you.
I am at unleashedfinancialadvocates.com and on LinkedIn.
Yeah, on LinkedIn, everybody.
Yeah.
At Michelle Brown Consulting, still says
you
that.
You can also still find me at Michelle Brown Consulting, because that's still kind of a part of my brand. It's just not the one I'm putting so much out into the universe. But yeah, that's awesome.
Stepping into it. We encourage you to connect with Michelle on LinkedIn at Michelle Brown Consulting and check her out. We also encourage you to follow the Unleashed Financial Advocates business page, because I'm running it, babies. So I need you to give me some comments. I need some engagement over there. So get on in there and make a connection if you would mean a lot to us. And of course, check Michelle out. As she grows this beautiful brand. I'm sure there's more to come. Michelle, thank you so much for being on the Stoned Fruit Roll-Up today.
Thank you. This was so much fun. Like, I had a great time, and I was a little like nervous at the beginning, but you make it so fun and easy, and it really, it's always fun to talk about ourselves and what we're doing once in a while. So that was nice to be able to do that with kind of no strings attached. So thank you for that.
And also this project we've done together.
I know.
For the audience at home, Michelle and I's last project was standing by a tent in the river. Standing in a tent near the river, as we did 2 seasons with a gourmet concession stand. We've worked on bringing a jerk sauce to commercial viability. We've brought a food service consulting firm to its beautiful birth and then its beautiful death as well. So we've worked on a lot of things together. I want you to know that Jasmine is here, if you know who Jasmine is, and our final moments. How exciting. Michelle, you rock, girl. I can't wait to see this brand for you. I'm having so much fun writing your blogs. I'm having a blast writing these blog posts. So, folks at home, be sure to stick. That blog will launch here in just a matter of days, hopefully, and check out all the wonderful good content at unleashedfinancialadvocates.com. Michelle Brown, my girl.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me. Thank you to Kathleen, for doing her work behind the scenes, and all those. Tony, shout out to our good questioner, Tony. So, love you guys.
Yeah, excellent. I'll be doing a small plug if I can get us in here. Share this tab instead. A small plug for next week when it's a takeover for UK All Day, the 3rd version. I'm not even here. I'll be doing I'm teaching high schoolers how to cook family meal.
Wow.
This is a special episode that Tony and Jill do where they talk about all things difference between UK and America. So,
oh my God, that's going to be hysterical. I might have to tune in for that for sure.
It is absolutely hysterical when you hear Tony's questions and then Jill's laughter at him. The UK All Days are really, really funny. So we've got our 3rd one coming up here next week, Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
All right.
Okay,
all right.
Michelle.
See ya.
That's it, girl.
Bye.
Smash that like and subscribe. I love you.